Are you still waiting for house prices to go down? I wouldn't. And here's why. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not a matter of having a guess whether or not there's going to be a housing crash or not. Everybody's going to have their opinion. You'll see news stories that'll say house prices are ready to crash. Some will say they're going to keep going up. But let's look at the facts. Here's an article today from the Wall Street Journal. This is the very end of April 2022. And if you're watching this later, it doesn't matter. This information is still relevant. It says home price growth accelerated in February. It rose 19.8%, the highest rate since August. So in 2021, home prices went up, but even after interest rates are increasing, home prices still went up through the winter. This is January, February we're talking about. We're not even into the spring market. So it accelerated. Well, you might have said, well, you know, other places will tell you, here's CNBC, that a slowdown might be coming. A slowdown might be coming. So home prices went up, but a slowdown might be coming. This is April 26, 2022. Slowdown might be coming. Well, guess what? 5 months ago, in December, they said home price growth is decelerating and it's just the start. They were saying in December that it was going down and it's going to keep going down. Well, obviously, that's not the case if home price accelerated in February. Why is it going up? If you see two different opinions about the same subject, you can't just flip a coin and pick one. Only one can be right. How do you tell which one is right and which one is wrong? How do you determine that? Well, let's take a look at some facts. One is a record number of home buyers are looking to relocate. This is also April. A third of users of this real estate site are looking to move to a different metro area in the first quarter. Skyrocketing home prices have made relocating the only valuable option for some home buyers, meaning that there's people who live in certain areas who want to move. Now, these aren't homeowners. These are Redfin users that are seeing skyrocketing home prices and rising mortgage rates, want to relocate to a more affordable area. This means you're not currently a homeowner, because if you are currently a homeowner, skyrocketing home prices and rising mortgage rates are not going to affect you. You're already in an affordable area. Your house price is already set in stone. Home buyers are moving away from pricey coastal areas, right? So these users are talking about are looking to move to a different area. Why is that important? It's important because the home buyer market is made up largely of consumers looking to buy a house when they're currently renting. They're looking to purchase a home when they're currently in a rental. Now, they may not be first-time buyers. They may have owned a home before and then went to rental and now going back, or they could be a first-time buyer. But most people are looking to move to a different area because of interest rate and pricing. Now, in order for that home buyer to purchase a house, they have to find a house where somebody's willing to sell the house. Here's the problem. With interest rates going up, fewer people are going to want to sell a house. If the market accelerated in February, 19%, and interest rates have gone up, will there be more or less houses for sale after February, in March and April and May? Well, the trick question, the answer is less, because people who are looking to sell a house and get rid of their house also have to get rid of their mortgage. So if somebody has a house that they have a mortgage of 2.5% or 3%, buying a new house is going to put them right now at 6 point something percent. Almost 7% is the mortgage rate. So it's almost double. So a person currently a homeowner living in a house with a 2.5 or 3% mortgage is very quickly going to discover that there's no valuable reason to sell that house and get rid of their cheap mortgage, even if they make a lot of equity on their home, because of course that equity has to go into their new home. What they can't bring from their old house to their new house is their interest rate. Their interest rate is gone forever. That cheap interest rate is worth big money. A savings of 3% interest on a $400,000 house equates to roughly $50,000 over just a few years' time. So by staying in a house for an extra 3 or 4 years, the homeowner, the borrower, the mortgage holder, is going to save $50,000 on interest. Not counting the fact they have to pay commission on the sale, closing costs, moving costs, forget all that. Just the interest alone on the same house is going to cost $50,000 more. So you have to look at it this way. A seller of a house is staring in the face of a $50,000 penalty just by selling their house, by moving. Built into their mortgage and to their house is like a $50,000 lottery ticket that is a value in their current ownership. By selling their house and moving, they're throwing away that $50,000 lottery ticket. And up until December, January, February, really, that wasn't a factor. And already prices went up 20%. Now, after that Case-Shiller report came out, which was through February, that's when the interest rates went up. The rates started to go up a little bit at the beginning of the year, but really didn't dramatically go up until February or March. So what's that going to do for future months? Well, you might think, well, if interest rates are higher, home prices have to come down. They don't have to come down. They're only going to come down if there's not enough buyers to buy the houses that are for sale. If there's no houses for sale, the buyers are going to have to pay whatever the seller wants to pay and pay the rate. Now, are the interest rates too high? Well, most of the last 20 or 30 years, a 5% or 6% interest was considered low. In the 1990s, if you had a 5% mortgage, you were in great shape. Interest rates were 7, 8, 9, 10% on mortgages. So a 5% mortgage historically is actually a low interest rate. That may not, 5 or 6% may not affect the home values. If it gets up to 8 or 9 or 10, maybe. But even then, if there's no houses for sale, how is a buyer going to try to negotiate the price? You have to buy a house. You have to have a place to live. Everybody needs a roof over your head. Whether you rent it or buy it, you have to have a roof over your head. And if you're renting and you see your rental monthly payment go up every year, $500 this year, $800 next year. We're seeing rental increases of $1,000 a month from a renewal, lease renewal. Eventually those people are going to say, I'm tired of renting. I want to buy a house so my rent doesn't go up every year, or I don't get kicked out of my house, or my landlord decides to rent to somebody else or sell the property. Eventually they're going to say, I got to bite the bullet and buy a house. And now they look and nobody's selling because everybody has a 2 or 3% interest rate. Look, here's the thing. People who took out a 5% interest mortgage in December or January of 21 to 22 are going to be considered low interest rates just in a few years. In 2023, when interest rates are 7.5 or 8%, you're going to be glad that you have a 5% mortgage. And now those people aren't going to want to sell. The musical chair game of home inventory is only going to get worse. Sure, the rate of sales may go down. The number of houses sold might reduce. But the market demand is not going anywhere. People are still going to need houses in 2022, 23, 24. There's not going to be automatically, magically fewer people out there looking to buy a house. Everybody still needs one. There will be magically less houses on the market because they're building some, but nowhere near fast enough. How do we know? We also are a licensed general contractor, so we know what the building industry is building. They're building as fast as they can, but with supply chain, labor, materials costs, it's not anywhere near fast enough. That's a subject for another time. So if you're in the housing market, any way you can fast forward, slash and burn, get yourself into a house, it's very likely that's going to save you tens of thousands of dollars than waiting 6 months or 8 months or a year when interest rates are higher and prices are higher, because prices are going to continue to go up. Another hidden cost of waiting to own a home is that somebody who's on the fence about selling, who may or may not be selling in the next year or 2 or 3, is not going to do their maintenance on their house, especially since prices for contractors are higher. So that deferred maintenance, not replacing a gutter or a soffit or fascia board in 2021 might only cost you $400 or $500 or $1,000. Probably more than that, but let's just use the $1,000. If that sits for 2 or 3 years with water damage, mold, rot, deterioration, now it's going to cost $5,000 because you have to replace more than just the fascia boards. You have to go back into the sheathing on the roof or the trusses, and that's going to be on you, the buyer. So buying something sooner before the deterioration sets in will put you on a path to not getting shut out of a house on price, locked into a mortgage that's 8%, or buying a house that needs $10,000 worth of maintenance that's been deferred and not paid for. Again, it's not an opinion. In fact, if it was up to us, we would love to see home prices go down, because home prices going up doesn't help anybody, even the homeowner. Because if you have a house that you bought for $300,000 in 2015 or 16, and it goes up to $700,000, you might think, "Oh, great! This is a big windfall. I love this. My house is worth $700,000." But that $400,000 in equity, it's not cash you can spend. It's not like income that you can use. That's just trapped value in your house. There's only 2 ways you can take that money out. One is selling your house. Well, if you sell your house, now you're in that game of musical chairs. You don't have a place to live. You have to buy another house and pay somebody else their equity. So it's an even trade. You're not gaining anything. You can also take a home equity loan or refinance. Well, first of all, now that the interest rates are 6%, 7%, it may not be that great of a thing to do. Second of all, if you just take an equity loan to spend the money on consumable goods, you're taking part of your house value and throwing it away on a car, clothes, vacations, whatever. You're not gaining anything. That $200,000 you're actually squandering. Instead of retaining it and owning it and having it as part of your personal net worth or your value, you're now disposing of it. So that's not going to work. Most people wouldn't do that anyways. So you might say, well, I'm just going to stand pat and my house will be worth $700,000 and I won't waste the money. That's true, but you will have to spend some of it. Because when your house is reappraised by the tax assessor at $700,000, your taxes now will go up. Instead of being $2,200 a year, they're going to be $5,100 a year. So you're going to spend an extra $2,000 in property tax because your house went up in value of cash you can't even use. At the same time, when your insurance agent does your renewal on your homeowner's policy, they're going to look and see that your value is $700 and say, wait a minute, your insurance premium now is higher. So you're going to pay higher taxes, higher insurance for a value that you can't even touch. So home values going up doesn't help anybody. So personally, we don't have an opinion. Going up, going down, it's all the same thing. The key is not having an opinion. What is the fact and how does it affect your decision? If you're on the fence about buying, the facts say go ahead and buy, depending on your scenario. If you're already in a house, well, the facts say just stay put with your low mortgage rate. If you're a renter and you're not thinking about buying at all, it might be worth revisiting looking at the future. What are things going to look like in 2024, 2025? What would your rent be? If house values are going up, rents are going to go up too. So if you bought now and you locked in a mortgage payment that's lower than your rent or the same as your rent, that will save you money because your mortgage payment won't go up. Again, food for thought. We're not taking a position. We're not saying this is our opinion. We're just saying what the facts look like for the future so that people can make their own decisions and look at things in a different way than what the news might tell you. Because the news, one day is going to tell you it's going up, one day it's going down, but they're not going to tell you why they think that or what the facts are. It's just going to be an opinion or a guess. House prices went up because of COVID. What does COVID have to do with it? House prices went up because of market availability. What does that mean? Look at the actual facts, and then you can make really good decisions. Leave some comments. We'd love to hear from you what you think about it, what your opinions are, what your experience is, so we can get an idea of what you guys are thinking about the market and how it affects the economy.